So for today's adventure, I'm hiking into Fryingpan Lake in the William O. Douglas Wilderness Area. The trailhead is at the Soda Spring Campground, and the route into the lake starts off on the Cowlitz Trail 44, the historic Native American trading route over the Cascades. The girls and I tried this one in early winter and failed. We only made it into Jug Lake, which should be a lake that we pick up today on the way into Fryingpan Lake. So I've been really wanting to get back and complete the hike into Fryingpan Lake that we failed to do in the early winter. Anyways, today's adventure, Fryingpan Lake. It's almost 1.3 miles in at this point. And something I should have mentioned in the intro, but I didn't, is this is a late August Saturday hike. And the Soda Springs Campground, there were 0 campers and there were 0 other cars parked at the trailhead to get in here. So I literally have the entire trail this afternoon to myself. So 2.1 miles in. And we're arriving at what during the winter, the early winter hike we did, this was a difficult, significant stream crossing with the amount of water flow that was coming through. And you can see now, you just walk right across, no trouble. Still water though in late August, so a nice little water supply spot. But yeah, the girls had a hard time getting across this one when we came the last time, because their short legs had a difficult time with the water crossing. So just over 2.2 miles, you come to the intersection with the Jug Lake Trail, Trail 43. So now we're going to turn off of the Cowlitz Trail 44. We're going to head north on the Jug Lake Trail. And it's going to start a switchbacky climb up into Tumac Basin, where all of the lakes and their associated mosquitoes are. So 3.2 miles to climb up into Tumac Basin is complete. And we've transitioned from forest dominated by hemlock and Doug fir into more of the alpine fir forest. And now it's going to be a pretty flat cruise over to the intersection to the spur trail that takes you down to Jug Lake. So at 3.5 miles, you hit the, well, closer to 3.6 actually. It's between 3.5 and 3.6. Jug Lake Trail is going to hit a small junction trail right here off to the left. Judkin Trail number 47. And that trail is going to take you down to Jug Lake. So if you want to see Jug Lake on your way into Fryingpan, you just walk a couple minutes down this spur trail. And it literally is just a few minutes down to Jug Lake. So we're going to go ahead and pick up some footage down there. So at 3.8 miles, I'm at Jug Lake. I wrapped myself around the lakeshore a little ways, trying to get down to a spot where I thought would allow me to get some of the best footage of the lake. And at under 4 miles from the trailhead, you can see this would be a great spot for a first-time backpacking trip because the mileage isn't that bad. And the only climb was about 0.8 of a mile and relatively mild compared to what a Cascade climb can be. Anyways, Jug Lake, she's beautiful. And you can't see it in the video, but the lake shore is just nice and grassy, beautiful. So we're almost 4.5 miles in. And you hit an intersection with Trail 41. You want to stay on Trail 43 to continue on to Fryingpan Lake. So 5.5 miles in, we're at a little lake called Snow Lake, the most overused lake name in the Washington Cascades, I think. And this means we're just a couple minutes from Fryingpan Lake at this point. Anyways, 5.5 miles, Snow Lake, another snow lake. So we're just a little over 5.7 miles in, walking through a beautiful meadow, and our First views of Fryingpan Lake are coming into play here in the foreground now, with some clouds that I hope don't mean a thunderstorm's coming. And we're going to walk to the north end of the lake. I think there's a little boot trail in that's going to give us some lakeshore views. A beautiful spot. 5.9 miles, still walking over to find the boot trail down to the lakeshore. But it's such a beautiful meadow. I just wanted to share a little bit of it. I know it's all about the lake, right? But man, you gotta love a mountain meadow. It's right here at the 6 mile mark. We've got a post that marks the location of the boot trail down to the lakeshore. Although it looks like the boot trail is essentially reverted back to nature at this point. So we're just going to work our way down. I mean, you can see where to walk, so it's not going to be an issue to get down to the lake shore. You just have to walk across the meadow here. The boot trail shows up on the maps, but it's definitely gone now. There's just the smallest hint of it as you walk along. I can see it showing up over here again. And here we are, 6.1 miles, Fryingpan Lake. In all its glory. I actually saw some nice established campsites with some built up rock fire rings. This looks like it'd be a pretty great place to stay. And the mosquitoes aren't that bad today. When I hiked 2 weeks ago in the Goat Rocks and the Mount Adams Wilderness area, the mosquitoes were nuts when you were anywhere in the timberline. Today there's been a few, and I did put on some picaridin, but the mosquitoes really haven't been that bad today. So it looks like maybe they're starting to finally die off for the summer. Anyways, Fryingpan Lake. And here's an example of one of the camp spots that I noticed. So they've got the fairly large fire ring built up by campers. Unfortunately, they put glass and other garbage in it. I never understand that, but plenty of area here to pitch a tent. Dry this time of year, anyways. I don't know about fall, winter, spring. Probably pretty wet in through here, but beautiful area. So here's another good example of a camping spot at Fryingpan Lake. So seating area with fire pit. Unfortunately, you can see what happens is people pack stuff in. There's another big red cooler over there, green cooler, hat, heavy metal stove, 2 perk pots, a frying pan. I think what happens is you get people packing stuff in, and they're packing in more weight than what they can handle. And then they choose not to pack it out to save themselves the weight and just leave the trash up here in the wilderness area for other people to have to experience. It's really unfortunate. So getting ready to head out, I just wanted to point out before I completely leave, there's a peak poking up on the east side of Fryingpan Lake off in the distance, and that peak's actually Tumac Mountain, which I did a video on before. So it's kind of fun to see it from this perspective. I usually see it from the east side. I come into it from the east side instead of the west, so kind of fun to see it coming in from that direction. And then the other thing to be aware of is that Trail 43, when you get to Fryingpan Lake here, if you hike just a little bit more, you're going to be on the Pacific Crest Trail. So Fryingpan Lake is not that far from the intersection with the Pacific Crest Trail. So you'll dump out on the Pacific Crest Trail and you'll be on the PCT portion that's between the Bumping River Basin and White Pass. So Fryingpan Lake would actually be a pretty great place to set up a base camp to do some slack packing. And if you want to explore the lakes in the Tumac Basin without having to pack a full pack around. So it's just something to be aware of. I think it'd be a great place to set up a base camp. And then you could just slack pack and visit the lakes in the basin. So just over 11.6 miles, we're arriving back at the trailhead. So Fryingpan Lake is definitely in the bag. So some important wrap-up pieces. At the trailhead we have a pit toilet. That's always good to know. The Forest Service road in was a dirt road, or is a dirt road. It still is. A little bit potholy, but not too bad. I got a Camry in here today, and I barely cringed. So if I can get a Camry in here, I think you can get almost anything in here. I did not see another person on the trail today, so it was definitely uncrowded, which is really nice. If you're going to do the hike in there were 2 climbs. The first of the 2 was 0.8 of a mile, and definitely the more significant of the 2. So I could see a person on that one, if they were backpacking, maybe having a little bit of a hard time with it. But I think based on how short the distance was to get into Fryingpan Lake, or Jug Lake for that matter, I think either one of them would be great first-time backpacking trips and great places to set up camp, leave camp set up, and do some slack packing around the Tumac Basin, exploring the lakes up there. There's tons of lakes, tons of trails, lots of places to set up loop hikes. So anyways, Fryingpan Lake is in the bag. Get outside.